on the recording when you come ashore.
Yep, and there's this feeling. So here they are. They're coming in from the left-hand side of the course. Andy and you and I know this feeling, like when you're coming in from the left, you don't have any rights on port tack, but you just keep feeling the
behind the French. And these are the Germans, so it's the Germans who go round in first place on this racetrack, because we were just looking at the Spanish. That was ESP 23, and somehow Echegoyen and Barceló, from a terrible start, have got themselves back up into 5th place in this race. But there are our leaders, Marla Bergmann and Hanna Wille. They went to the left-hand side of the racetrack. They made it work for them, and that's what's launched these young Germans into the lead. They were in 15th place at the start of the day, but the points are very close to get back into the top 10. They will be hoping that if they can hold on to this race win, this might be enough to get them close to knocking on the door of the top 10 and maybe making tomorrow's medal race. It's
awesome to see the coordination of these two. And the one thing you do notice is that a lot of the time, especially when it's even lighter, they do a little bit of a windward heel just to keep as much pressure, keep their boat as upright as possible. It feels very uncomfortable for a lot of sailors to sail that way, but it's something that these sailors get very comfortable with, particularly these skiff sailors, sailing the boat dead upright or even with a little bit of windward heel to keep the power in the sail, almost like a windsurfer would keep their rig to windward.
Yeah, it doesn't actually feel that fast, and it feels really uncomfortable because you're pretty close to the water, and you cannot afford you can't afford a mistake. Whereas you have a bit of leeward heel, it gives you a bit more reaction time if the boat suddenly hits a lull. Whereas if you hit a lull, you're already heel to windward. That's quite difficult to deal with.
So for a little while in this downwind leg, you can see those boats on starboard tack that the German pair are just going by. For a little while, they were bow to bow with them, coming in at each other at the same ladder rung, if you know what that term is. But now they've definitely cleared out. They're definitely in the lead. Left side of the course facing upwind, right side facing downwind definitely came true.
Just going into a jibe drop. Really, really hard work for Hanna Wille at the front of the boat, but a beautifully executed jibe drop by Marla Bergmann and Hanna Wille, because I think the fleet has mostly decided that going up the left-hand side of the racetrack is the safer way to go.
Right, and right now the Germans aren't coming in from the far left. Right when you see them, there's still a bunch of boats behind us, and that's that top other four boats behind them. And I think the only risk here is that the German team is right in the course axis, directly downwind of the weather mark. So right behind us is the weather mark from this vantage point. But to their left, we have the next 3, 4, 5 positions. So what they decided to do is hedge their bets, get themselves going back into the middle of the course, and hope that left doesn't just keep on coming like it did for them on that first beat.
Yeah, well, I think they'll be pretty confident. Well, I think this is good tactical position by the Germans, because they can still tack if there's a wind shift. The boats behind them, led by France 84, Steyart and Picon, they've really committed to that left-hand ley line, so they don't have any tactical options left. So I feel like even if it does lift higher to the left, I don't know. It would be an attacking opportunity for the French, but I think this is good tactical hedging their bets for the Germans.
Awesome. Well, it's great to see them still in the lead, and it's great to see the French team really stepping up. They've really had a great, second half of their regatta.
Well, now is the opportunity for the Germans to consolidate, because they do tack onto starboard. So now the threat from the other boats further up on the ley line starts to go away, as long as they feel that they can safely cross. And it looks like the Germans have actually extended their lead even more on the French and the rest of the chasing pack. So a beautifully sailed race by Bergmann and Wille, and starting the day in 15th, this is surely going to take them very close to the edge of the top 10.
Yep, and it looks like the Australians, 47, Harding and Wilmot, they look like if things come good for them when they tack on the ley line, they let that pack get stacked up to the left of them. If they tack on the ley line, they'll make the biggest gains on this beat. So this is closer. This is closer than it was at the leeward mark.
Much closer, much closer. So actually that's been a good gain by the French, and we got a bit of a match race on now, so the French are close enough to be able to attack.
That's to me, that tells me that the French can really attack them as opposed to protecting what's behind them.
That I would agree with that, except that I think what we've seen is the Germans have stretched a little bit since that spinnaker hoist, and looks like the Germans slightly have the legs on the French in these early stages of this run downwind back towards the finish.
Yeah, absolutely. We were a little worried about our little chase boat there getting in their way, but you're right. Like right when they rounded, it was like a strange. Maybe there's some current or something, but that was a strange, quick extension. Maybe just the French didn't have quite as fast of attack around that mark. They were coming in from port, so they had to dock and then tack.
That's
so maybe
true.
That was a big part of it.
It's a 180 turn instead of a 90-degree turn if you're coming in.
It's just enough, and look at what it turns out to be.
So there are the standings at the moment as we come down the final run towards the finish. Bergmann and Wille in the lead, just ahead of Steyart and Picon from France, and then a bit of a gap back to Germani and Bertuzzi, looking to keep Nice and Groningen. Marla Bergmann, Hannah Wille, and this is an important feather in their cap. If they can win this race as they go through the jibe, let's see how well they execute it. Marla Bergmann jumps out onto the trapeze just to accelerate the boat out of the jibe. The French respond, but I don't think they managed to get as much speed out of the jibe as the Germans.
Performance from you. I saw a little bit after the second half of the beat. You started a little bit closer to the committee boat, I guess, and you played beautiful. The fleet, you went across to the left, and then you tacked when you had a perfect lane. Just tell us a little bit about the feelings you had on board and how you managed to keep that lead.
Actually, I think we were quite nervous, both of us, but our goal for today was just to keep it simple and to have a good start, because that didn't quite work our way in the qualifying. So we were just working on that, and we're happy that it paid off that way.
And how much do you think this is going to affect your score overall? You're going to climb a few boats?
Oh, I think it was like, as we started into the day, it was really tight. So I think we jumped quite a bit, but we'll see. There's one more race to come today, and probably one more tomorrow. So it's all open, I guess, still.
Yes, so you are going to change anything for the next race? You're going to keep the same strategies, same settings? The boat was going well? You're going to keep everything the same?
I think we're just going to keep it the same and hope for the next race to play out that well as well.
All right. Show us another great performance, because it was a pleasure to see you girls. Your technique downwind was beautiful, and I'm looking forward to see it again.
Thank
well
you.
Done. Well done.
Well, obviously it doesn't get old winning races, even though that was their second race win of the afternoon. It seems to be all going the way of Bergmann and Wille. And look, would you believe it? Would you believe it? I'm not going to mention who has just gone round in the lead. You can say that, Chris Muesler.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the NACRA 17.
It's definitely a little bit lighter than it was the race before. You see the crews sitting right in on top of the centerboard. Here they are coming into the gate. Easy lead for them. They were a little bit high, but right on their transom is Italy 20, Germani, and Bertuzzi. Beautiful mark rounding, letting the crew do all the work, and just coming up the middle of the course. I mean, Germany 55, they're playing it just right. If you look at the tracker, we're looking at right now, if you look behind them, one side is half the fleet, the other side of them is the other half the fleet. They have every option on the table, so they're really perfectly covering the fleet. And that's the only way you can do it. You just need options, sailing up the middle of the course, making sure you're staying in pressure.
And the question they'll be asking themselves is, we know that mostly hanging a little bit more left is what's worked so far today, but we can't take that for granted. We've got to keep an eye over our shoulder, because we know that the breeze, as it starts getting softer in this latter part of the day, as the sun loses its strength, the right can tend to be the better place to be.
Starting aggressively, they're sailing aggressively. They do have good speed, and they're just increasing their advantage.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they didn't back off in the way they started. You know, you could say, oh, we've won 2 races. Let's play it a bit safer. Let's not ruin the day. But no, you've got to keep on doing what's been winning for you already, and that's easier said than done sometimes.
Next 5 boats, while Germany keeps the advantage, and that is such a mature move by the Germans, because now what happens, instead of having a boat right behind them and a group right behind them, now they have a little bit of a gap, and then that person that was right behind them is going to go slow with a big group of boats. So now they're just going to be able to extend their lead.
Well, there we have it. Just about to execute their final tack of the race. And straight into, well, that's another reason why they tacked where they did. I didn't realise they were so high up on the ley line, so tacking aggressively on the Italians. They weren't actually being aggressive at all, so I take that back.
Gains from them, because those big packs of boat, like I talked about before, the breeze goes over those big packs of boats.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's see if that early jibe set for the French does work out. Can you say that? Three in a row.
Basketball?
3 in a row. A hat trick. Do you know what hat trick is?
A hat trick, yeah.
You call that a three-peat. I'm not going to use...
Three-peat's good, too.
I'm not going to use that again. No
Okay.
way.
All right, well, whatever it is, it's absolutely fantastic. And here's that team. We get to watch, hey, let's call it as it is. One of the best sailors in the world, best teams in the world. Let's see what their form looks like.
Keeping it smooth. Marla Bergmann on the trapeze at the back of the boat. And Hannah Wille just crouching in, keeping her weight low around the bottom of the mast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's not about shaking wind out of the sail or anything like that. It's just about the power transfer. And also their foils, even though they're kind of older now, this is more than a 25-year-old design, their blades, their centerboard, their dagger board and their rudder are still very high aspect, very thin, and it's very easy to disrupt that flow.
That's right. So this is why you're seeing them move around cat-like around the boat, just subtle changes. And they make it look very easy because these boats naturally want to fall over all the time. Marla Bergmann, Hannah Wille crossed the finish line for the third time today in the lead.
Yeah.
They have just enjoyed a perfect day on the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
3 wins from 3 races in the Gold Fleet at the 49er FX European Championships.
Oh, my God, they're pumped. Where's Pedro? Pedro jinxed them in a good way.
I had the feeling that I was going to talk to you girls again, with those smiles after the finish of the previous race. I somehow I knew it. I followed your race. I saw a beautiful start from the committee boat, and you nailed that ley line on the first beat. It was absolutely exactly spot on. Well done. Tell me what you felt and how did you manage to put such a perfect strategy on this race?
I think at the start this time it was a bit more crowded at the boat end because people started to realize, okay, we want to start on the right side to have the control. And then we were a bit like, do we start here? Like, do we take the risk or do we go a bit like lured off the boat? And then we're like, okay, no, we can do this. We're going to start at the boat end. And then we had quite a fight with the Italians, Italy 20, for the perfect gap. And I think we both managed quite well. We both had quite a good lane, and then from then it was just speed.
Lovely, that's the spirit. I want to see more of that tomorrow. So now for sure you're doing a huge jump on the scoreboard.
Yes.
I mean, with 2 bullets.
No. 3.
3 bullets.
Three
Yes.
bullets.
Oh, 3 bullets.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see the first race. There's 3 bullets.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I'm taking them to dinner tonight, okay? If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna dinner between the 3 of us. Well, anyway, it was lovely to see you. I love to see such happy faces, and we're looking forward to see you girls again tomorrow.
Thank
well
you.
done.
Thank
Nice
you.
job.